Good evening, folks. This is the Factivist report for Sunday, the 11th of August. And as we look at a rejuvenated political landscape, we are talking tonight about the vice president elect, not the current vice president. We're talking about Tim Walz tonight.
Right. So the reason I wanted to do this show is because Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota, and not everybody might know this guy. And I didn't know him that well either, to be honest with you. I knew who he was, I knew where he governed, I knew a couple things about him, but he can really, really solidify this ticket. He really can, because yet I understand he's a white guy, but he is true blue collar, middle class, middle America. He was a football coach. He was in the National Guard for 24 years. He grew up on his family farm, and he was a farmer when he was a teenager. So he knows agriculture, and he was able to develop all of that into a political career, despite a couple of mistakes here and there. And he is genuine, and he communicates, and he builds relationships. Oh my God. Now, tell me that reminds you of any other vice presidential candidate, and I will ask you what year we're talking about, because I know sure as hell we're not talking about J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is the opposite of Tim Walz. That's kind of the point. Kamala Harris brought him in to solidify this ticket and to be a stark contrast from J.D. Vance. Now, there was talk that Andy Beshear was possibly going to do it, or Josh Shapiro. Mark Kelly was also. But I'll be honest with you, those guys might get their shot. They may get their chance at some point down the road. But right now, middle America needs to see this guy. And by the way, Deb, tell me if I'm wrong. Tim Walz reminds me of a Rust Belt or a middle America Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, he does.
He really does.
It's not just middle America that needs to see him. All of America needs to see this.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. All of us need to be exposed to this guy. This is what, he embodies what public service is.
Yes.
It is exactly what it is. It is not what Donald Trump is showing you. It is not, what Stephen Miller talks about when he's given a platform on Ari Melba's show, which, really pisses me off. Those people aren't talking about public service. They're talking about self-service. There's a difference.
Right. They're talking about brand building. That's what they're talking about. Now, I'm going to go through a couple of things with him, a couple of, his policies, a couple of his high points, a couple of, the things that he's been criticized for. So without further ado, let's go. But yeah. The very first thing. Oh, it would be nice. Let's see if I can get this right. There we go. Okay. This is his governor, just his current governor page. I just want to go through signature accomplishments. By the way, one of his big things now is, it's none of anybody's damn business what people do. And he lives it. He embodies that. He really does. It's not just a slogan for, whatever. Governor Walz's signature accomplishments. And it's not like 2 or 3. You know what I'm saying? So, $2.3 billion education budget into law, largest single investment in public education in state history. By the way, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, she will probably take over if he wins. She'll probably take over in Minnesota, and that's fine. She's great. Uh, establish ironclad reproductive freedom, protections for trans individual and gender affirming care as fundamental rights in Minnesota. And we'll talk about it because the Republicans make fun of him. They call him Tampon Tim. That, they say he's radical. He's supporting the radical transgender agenda, blah, blah, whatever. Let's see here. Expanding workers' rights, um, establishing paid leave, ensured paid sick days, banned non-compete agreements, uh, increased protection for workers in Amazon warehouses, construction sites, hospitals, nursing homes, and public schools. So, and one last one, tax cuts. Okay. Tax cuts with every one of his budgets. Governor Walz has delivered a variety of rebate checks of up to $1,300 to seniors, students, workers, and middle-class families. He also lowered taxes for small businesses and fully exempted state taxes on Social Security for more than 3/4 of seniors. A couple other things: school lunches for kids. He guaranteed free school lunches for kids in Minnesota. He was established a free college program for kids whose parents have a what was it, an income under $80,000. And yes, we will talk about the feminine hygiene products in school bathrooms.
Can I just say something about Peggy Flanagan also,
Yeah,
real quick?
yeah,
She will take over if
yeah, she will.
the ticket wins. She would be the first Indigenous female governor.
Yes, thank you. Forgot about that.
So that
She
would be a
is,
big
and
step forward too.
yep, and also a female.
Yes.
So just saying. Let's see here. This is just a general, 5 things to know about Tim Walz. A couple things I want to tell you. Yes, he comes from rural America. He at one point he lived in Nebraska, then he moved to Minnesota. All right. Proven ability to connect with conservative voters because he's plain spoken. He doesn't talk in elevated speech. I've known some people a lot in the Green Party who, why should I dumb down my speech? I'm educated, but because you want to talk, people need to know what you're talking about. That's why. But he's plain spoken. He could help the ticket in key Midwestern states, which is what I meant by the whole, Midwest looking at him thing. Now, experience with divided government, which means a split house or issues with, a Republican majority kind of a thing.
By the way, he has passed most of his progressive legislation with a 1-seat majority. And
right.
That's no small feat.
Right. He has an ear for soundbite politics. If you listen to him at all, yeah, he calling the other ticket weird and all of that stuff. When you guys get a chance, you can take a look at his Wikipedia page. So some things about his policies, where he stands on abortions, unions, energy, etc. He wants to strengthen unions. He wants people to be able to make their own choices. He wants energy to be affordable. It's basically where we're going with this. Tim Walz's first job was working on a farm when he was 17, 18 years old. That led into him being chair of part of the agricultural committee and in House, in the House. Just so you know, people have criticized him for a couple of things. Criticized him from not living in Minnesota all his life. Uh, he made a couple of
That's all
comments
you
here
got?
and there. Yeah, pretty much. And also with the George Floyd issue, which we'll talk a little bit about. This is just about the Minnesota's Democratic Party, the history of the uh, DFL, which is a farm labor, Democratic farm labor. Basically, this is about farmers' rights too, which he is deeply into. So this is just another Midwestern politician speaking highly of him. This is Kansas Governor Laura Kelly.
Laura
This is
Kelly,
just-
who stood up to the anti-trans people in her state and won.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay, a couple things. Tim Walz had 24 years of service in the National Guard, and he retired in 2005. JD Vance is trying to make a big deal out of it, saying that it's stolen valor, quote unquote. Here are a couple things about it. Number one, after 20 years, you can retire whenever the hell you want. Number two, please take a look at Jesse Ventura's little clip with Reverend Sharpton. I never thought that I would say that, but take a look at the clip, because Governor Ventura talks about the fact that the armed services, they should have never been there in the first place. The National Guard should have never been in Iraq. And in 2005, Bush and Cheney needed bodies to go to Iraq. So they commissioned, or they sent some of the armed services into Iraq. The National Guard is supposed to protect us inside the country on the ground. Number one. There's growing dissent against Vance in regards to criticizing anyone's service anyway. You're not supposed to do that as a Marine or anybody else in the armed services. And as a matter of fact, Tim Walz, when he's asked about it, every time he thanks JD Vance for his service. And by the way, JD Vance was part of the press corps, Deb.
Yeah. He wrote press releases from an air-conditioned tent, basically.
Right. So
for what? How long? 2 years?
Yeah. So 4, I think. Actually,
yeah,
I think it was
okay,
4.
So he served 4 years, and Walt served 24, I believe it was, in total. Yeah, well, and I wouldn't talk if I were JD.
He didn't carry weapons of war because he was never in war. Yes, actually, they're weapons of war. He just wasn't using them in war.
Right.
He actually damaged his hearing. One other thing, in 1995, Walz was arrested for a DUI, and it was reduced to reckless driving. He went to his principal. He asked, should I resign? And the principal said, hell no, because he was that good of a teacher. And that's it. Okay, you're going to potentially see, Tim Walz, DUI, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Guess what?
How far back do we want to go? We want to go back to
1995. It was 1995.
Well, how far back do we want to go? I mean, we can go back on some other people too if we want.
Right. It's not as though he even did it when he was in when he did it when he was in politics. He made a mistake. He doesn't drink anymore, by the way. Him and Vance actually share something in common. They both drink tons of Diet Mountain Dew. So that should be a fun debate. I'm just saying. Um, so here is the
Again, let me just reiterate one thing.
yeah,
If we're going to talk about service,
yeah,
let's talk about, and qualification. Let's just make sure we're straight on who actually served the nation
right.
longer. And again, we hear this all the time. Is Kamala Harris qualified? Is Tim Walz? They're doing it because she's a female and because she's black. She's
Right.
got way more service than the other two. They've got a combined 5.5 years worth of public service. That's it.
Right. Well, and let us remind everyone. I thought about putting a an article in here, but let's remind people of Captain Bone Spur. Okay, Donald Trump did not serve a day in the military, so
And
he
Donald
shouldn't
Trump also
say anything.
refers to people who served in the military as
And
losers
suckers
and
and
suckers.
suckers.
Yeah. Yeah. So he can deny that all he wants, but it's on tape. So
Right. Remember, he insulted a Gold Star family.
right.
I mean, so I don't know how many people know about Paul Wellstone. There's a reason why Minnesota politicians sometimes become famous. Paul Wellstone was a very, very revered politician in Minnesota and in the country. He served in the 90s in the House. I don't know what seat, but he passed away. I think it was in 2002. It was a plane crash. It was actually right before his election. But this story by Paul Demko, it basically, and this is Politico, it basically tells the story of the Paul Wellstone camp. What do they call it? Um, oh, it's the Wellstone Center or something of that nature. But Paul Wellstone's family set up an institution or a training center for up and coming activists, politicians, that sort of thing. And in 2005, Tim Walz came in and kind of blew people away. They didn't know what to think of him because he was different from what everybody's seen. And they didn't think he was going to win against the two-time Republican incumbent. But guess what? He did. And what they said about him was he was an incredible communicator. Okay. And again, very well spoken and had clear cut ideas. So,
A couple of things. Paul Wellstone was a senator from Minnesota,
Senator, well, I say House, I'm sorry.
and he served from 1991 until 2002 when he died.
2002 was when he died.
Right. And he was the head of the populist and progressive wing of the Democratic Party at the time of his death. So
And he was an amazing speaker.
he was.
He was, he was anti-war like all hell.
Right.
So, but and he was all about funding your own campaign and public service.
Yep.
And when Tim Walz came in, they actually say that he breathed life into that thing. So they noticed back in 2005, uh, and he actually won, and he was a House rep from 2005 or 2006, whatever, to until he won his governor race. So this is just another person. Representative Angie Craig speaking up for him. She's in Minnesota. Part of what she was speaking up for him about was the fact that he spoke for same-sex marriage, and she had to marry her wife in California, and she just appreciated him and appreciated the fact that you have a guy in a red area in Minnesota just screaming at the top of his lungs, love is love, and leave these people alone, and it's none of your damn business, and blah, blah, blah. He was saying that 10 years ago, by the way. and gay marriage was codified in Minnesota. So this is Representative Angie Craig. And this is how you also build relationships with people inside politics. So, oh yeah, Donald Trump called Tim Walz a communist, but in 2019 he appointed Walz to an advisory position. Just saying,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, Donald Trump's got some reality problems.
This is a little thing about his governor's campaign. This is his Ballotpedia page now. The things about this is that it showed some of his committee assignments when he was in the House of Representatives. Okay. And the guy, let's see his key votes. Okay. Or not. Here we go. Yeah. He he didn't believe he doesn't believe in trade for the sake of trade. He wants a protective clause, protection for the workers and everybody else, safety, economic protection, all of that. Trade, trade. Let's see here. All right. Okay. Voted for the NDAA. Yeah. So let's see what committee assignments. I know he was on agricultural and veterans affairs. Okay. So those were the two that he was big on: armed services committee, veterans affairs, agricultural subcommittee, transportation and infrastructure. So there you go. I mean, he was in it. He was active when he was in the House. And I have another one that talks specifically of his bills. This is actually a little video talking about this claim that he let Minnesota burn. When you call for the National Guard, you have to have a reason and you have to document it and you have to send it, blah, blah, blah. This was like something having to do with between him and the mayor of Minneapolis at the time, that the mayor of Minneapolis didn't react, quick enough or whatever. But the bottom line is, in what universe does the brother of a man who was assassinated by your police officer, in what universe does he advocate for you for vice president? George Floyd's brother endorses Harris Walz. Says the Minnesota governor is built for this. Not only that, he said that he was a great guy, and that if he didn't nominate Ellison, or if he didn't assign Ellison to that case, to that Derek Chauvin case, justice might never have been served. So he thanks Tim Walz and blah blah blah. Okay. Tim Walz's record on housing issues. Kamala Harris VP signed a $1 billion bill that includes down payment assistance programs. Okay. Last year, Walz signed a $1 billion housing omnibus bill that had been passed by the state's Democratic legislature and marked the largest single investment in housing in Minnesota history. So we're talking about school lunches, we're talking about food, we're talking about housing, healthcare. This, I mostly put this in here because this was a picture of when they were hugging him when he signed the bill for free school lunches. Those, some of the kids that were affected.
Breakfasts and lunches, by the way.
Breakfast and lunches, sorry. You're absolutely right. Now, Governor Tim Walz made tampons free in Minnesota schools. The reason why it's drawing Trump's ire is because he's asking them to put feminine hygiene products in both men's rooms and in women's rooms, because some people who use the men's room, they actually do menstruate. Deb, that's radical, Deb.
It is. But by the way, you know what I say to that? Mind your own damn business. How's that? Mind your own damn business.
I mean,
it makes perfect sense to have those things available in a school setting. All of it makes perfect sense. And
honestly,
this is the kind of shit that,
yeah,
it's the kind of shit that the Republicans, the current crop of Republicans focus on. Okay? It is. All of the things that can piss you off, Tampon Tim has managed to piss them off about this. It's ludicrous.
Chaya Raychek called him Tampon Tim and put his face on a tampon box, by the way. And
right.
they're embracing it.
Yeah.
They're embracing it. So, yeah, that's Tampon Tim. Hold on. There he is.
There we go. We'll take it.
Exactly.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah.
Let them waste all their time and energy.
So here's the bottom line. Listen, Tim Walz, you know what the hell he's talking about when he says it. He's very plain spoken. He's very down to earth. And then you have Yale educated gobbledygook speaker who, by the way, he wrote a book trashing his own community, which Tim Walz, bash him for. So don't be surprised.
He's being raked over the coals for that by people who actually lived in his community, saying none of it was true or representative of what was going on there. So,
right. So, and anything that JD Vance is saying against Tim Walz, it's backfiring against him gloriously. So now, JD Vance can't even be authentic in his nerdum. Opinion by Hayes Brown. Deb, take a look. What do you think I'm asking you to look for? In the video, take a look at the title. Beto O'Rourke on JD Vance.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, to know that
every other video, every video that I have, talking about Tim Walz is how great of a guy he was, blah blah. Now there are a couple of guys who complained that he left early, blah blah, but whatever. That's all they got.
It is.
But the first video I go on is Beto saying to know that guy is to hate the guy. That's the thing. He's not likable. He's not likable at all. And he's not relatable at all.
By the way, it's not a great show because that's Nicole Wallace.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So this is his record. Okay. These are the bills that he's pushing for. Bill to prohibit the government of the District of Columbia from using federal funds to allow individuals who are not citizens of the United States to vote in any election.
Can I
Okay.
just say that's a redundant bill? It's already illegal. Okay.
I know.
Again, it's more grandstanding.
Deb, here's another one that you're going to say the same shit.
Yep.
A bill to prohibit federal funding of Planned Parenthood Federation of America.
Yep.
Where's the funding? I want it. Where is it? They don't.
How about this one? A bill to amend Title 19 of the Social Security Act and the Public Health Service to improve the reporting of abortion data to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and for other purposes. I can't imagine what those other purposes might be. A bill to amend Title 18, United States Code, to prohibit discrimination by abortion against an unborn child on the basis of Down syndrome. You know, this is it. This is what they do. This is how they spend their time instead of minding their own damn business. That decision on a child of Down syndrome is not his decision to make, nor is it the government's decision to make. It is to be made by the person, the people involved, the husband, the wives, whoever it is, and their doctors, not the goddamn federal government.
Can I just say, because I know from personal experience, my brother-in-law had Downs. Okay. You have no idea how difficult it is to take care of a kid with Down syndrome or the issues that they have, the health issues or whatever it is, depending on how severe the Down syndrome is. Mind your own damn business. Mind your business, please. And here's the last one I will mention. S62, a bill to prohibit taxpayer-funded abortions.
That's all we got.
We don't pay anyway.
They're just unbelievable.
Now, here we go. This is the best article that I found. I couldn't really find much in his Ballotpedia page. I don't know, but this is the best article that I found on his bills. Okay. Focus on vets and farms and bipartisan bills. Now, remember, when he first got in, that was when the Iraq war was blowing up. So, he supported ACA and he didn't support the Iraq war. He wanted the National Guard out of there. He wanted, the troops out of there. Stocks ban bill. He actually he supported a bill to keep any politicians from basically insider trading, from owning stocks while they're in office.
Right.
Okay. He voted to hold Eric Holder in contempt of court, in contempt of Congress, for failing to comply with a subpoena. Okay, so 2 years later, in 2014, Walz found himself working across the aisle as one of the lawmakers looking into the Department of Veterans Affairs lengthy wait lists as a member of the Veteran Affairs Committee. During a hearing with VA whistleblowers that July, Walz criticized the department for having a goal but no strategy. Yeah. He voted to approve legislation overhauling aspects of Veterans Affairs, which I agree with because they were in a boondoggle for a very long time. Frustrations with the Farm Bill. I mean, that's going to happen in a Trump administration. Opposing Trump. And he opposed Trump on most ideological stuff, there were a couple of things where Trump said he was going to support the troops and support, cops and things of that nature, but nothing really came of it. So to me, I just happened to see this. I don't know. This is in response to the communist uh, uh, claim, or the claim that Harris and Tim Walz are communists. Look, they're going to be some differences on how you look at things, but helping people is what people in office are supposed to do. That's what they're supposed to do.
It's supposed to work for the American people. That's
And
what they're supposed to do.
We do pay in terms of taxes, and in terms of taxes, we do pay for the service.
We do.
So, by the way, for Trump or anybody, oh, you guys are getting money for free. Social Security is not free money.
Right.
Deb, how long have you paid into Social Security? 40 years?
No, 57. I've been working for a
57
long
years.
time.
Right. I mean, so you invest your money, however you invest your money, that's your money.
Right.
Don't touch my money. There's nothing for free. This idea that, all the Democrats, they just want free stuff. They're communists, or they're this, that, and the other thing. And by the way, this whole idea, and I actually think that Tim Walz doesn't know it, but he's more like Bernie Sanders than you may think. But this idea of we're getting stuff for free, we're not.
No, we're not. Look, I've worked for all those years, and I can promise you that what I get from the government it covers my rent, but it doesn't cover my bills. I'm still working. So, and I'm still paying into Social Security. So I'm not listening. It's garbage.
Right. Right. And for, oh, by the way, you may laugh and joke and call him Tampon Tim or whatever. But and by the way, I've never had to deal with this. But if you're a girl sitting in class, terrified that you're going to leak through your clothes, nobody should have to go through that.
It's a ridiculous notion that it's not there in every school. In my opinion, it's
18. By the way, 18 states. So it's 18 states, and more people were saying, why aren't they in blah blah blah. I understand the whole thing about condoms too. People are like up in arms about giving away condoms in school because they're saying that you're pushing promiscuity, but they're gonna have sex anyway.
Wait, come on. Oh, look, there's condoms available. Let's have sex. Can we just stop? Because if there's not condoms available, they're going to have sex without condoms, okay?
Right. And not for nothing, it's a chance that they're going to use a condom. A dude, oh, it doesn't feel good or whatever, for it's too uncomfortable, it's too inconvenient,
it isn't
whatever.
Natural. My daughter's boyfriends. It isn't natural. I got a word for that. We don't want to go into what feels natural to me, because none of that feels natural to me. So I don't even want to go there. I don't care what the fuck is on it. So
I'll show you what feels natural. Freaking poured upside your head.
It ain't that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying. So.
And what's natural? Sure as hell ain't JD Vance.
No, it is not. You ever see him when he? The funny thing is about JD Vance and Walz. He tries to be Walz. I mean, you've ever seen him You ever seen him chuckling at the microphone? He doesn't
Yeah.
know what the hell he's laughing at, but he's not laughing at anything that's funny.
Well, here's a few people have said it, and I couldn't find a quote or whatever, that Tim Walz is who JD Vance wants to be.
Yeah.
And that's exactly
that several
why
times
Kamala
myself.
Harris picked him. That's why Kamala Harris picked him. And
Exactly
by the
right.
way, he's going to be one hell of an asset for that ticket
He is.
because he's down to earth and people can understand him.
Yep.
You don't have to, and I preached this to people when I was in the Green Party. You do not have to speak like you have a freaking PhD in linguistics. You don't have to do that because people aren't going to know what the hell you're talking about.
Right.
Why hide my education level? You're not hiding your education level. Just talk to us, in a way that we understand. That's how you're going to get votes.
Right. And
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing about the whole approach that the ticket has to gaining support is because people are weary of all of the strife. People
Right, all the doom and gloom and all that.
People want to hear what you're going to do moving forward. People want to move forward and out of the whole Trump era. Okay. It's been 9 years and people are tired of it now. And what they're offering is a look into the future. They're stating clearly what they stand for. And next week, she's going to reveal her economic policies. They're going to talk about what they're going to do for the American people. They're not talking about how they're going to get back at this one or get back at that one or whatever. I mean, people are weary with the whole thing. Now you have people interested again in this whole process of saving American democracy.
Right. And I believe that Biden is a victim of timing.
Yes.
It's just bad timing. And plus the fact that, yes, he is getting older and he's never going to change that, ever.
Nope.
However, he's still doing the job now. I want people to understand that. He's still doing the job now.
By the way, there's an article out there today, a poll taken. The majority of Republicans in the country support his Supreme Court reforms. So it isn't just the progressives that support it.
And he is setting the table for that.
That's right.
He's setting the table for that. And Kamala Harris could not go out there and do what she's doing without Biden supporting her.
That's right.
Well, if Biden was like, nope, I need you here, I need you to, he's not going to do that, obviously, but knowing full well what's at stake. But the way it's set up now, you have someone who is on the campaign trail. And by the way, I believe that Tim Walz is now back in Minnesota, and that Vice President Harris, she's actually in California. She may be talking to Nancy Pelosi. I believe she's talking with Nancy Pelosi on strategy. And by the way, let us just give props to Nancy Pelosi.
She's a boss.
Again, she is a boss.
Everybody writes books, right? Everybody's written a book. How many people have written a book over the last 5 years? You know what? Hers is one book I'm actually going to buy. I haven't bought any of the other books. I'm not interested in them, but I do want to buy Nancy Pelosi's book. I do. I want to read it.
You didn't buy the Beck's book of what happened with Bernie Sanders?
No.
I know you didn't.
No, I watched what happened with Bernie Sanders.
Oh my God.
I was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Yeah. But I still am a Bernie Sanders supporter. I think he's been
too.
Absolutely instrumental to the Democratic Party. No question about it. But what cracks me up is all of these people who talk about MAGA like there's some massive majority in the country. They're not. This is what people don't understand. There's a lot that the Harris campaign can do to attract Republicans MAGA is about 30% of the Republican Party. Donald Trump is going to tell you that MAGA is 90% of the country. He lies. He hasn't told the truth since the womb. So why would you listen to him now?
Can I please address the people of Long Island? I'm sure not many people are listening, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Long Island, New York, whatever. Please ask yourself, please, what has Donald Trump ever done for you? Please, if he's done something for you, please let me know. I want to know what it is. Because I know sure as hell he hadn't done anything for me. I know sure as hell he hadn't done anything for New York City. Ask anybody in New York City what he's done. And they're going to do this. It's like, he hasn't done anything. He has bilked people. The Trump University with the steel and all of that with building materials. He's bilked people. It's like, what has the man actually done?
Nothing.
In legislation or in action, nothing. Do not talk to me like he's going to do anything. He's not. You have people worshiping this guy. It's amazing to me. On Long Island, it's amazing. It really is. And, laughing.
Well, you're an anomaly then, because I hear from my niece in Manhattan, and she says that New Yorkers hate his guts. I mean,
I'm telling you, it's the, blue collar dummies. Some of the blue collar dummies that still buy it. Still. Now, remember that this is the area that Trump had his MS-13 summit. This was the exact area where he had that. So maybe they still believe all this crap. The other thing is that people are still mired in this, Biden hasn't done anything for the economy. Deb, there's just so much we can do.
Yeah. No, well, you know what? So we've already determined one thing here. We've already determined that moving forward, right? The whole conversation about accomplishments of the Biden-Harris administration are irrelevant, because nobody wants to hear that. What they want to hear now is what they're going to do.
What they're going to do.
That's what people want to hear. And that's what she's doing. But she does get, we've done this and this, and now this is what we're going to do. So she gets it in there. But honestly, I'm going to just say this. I actually fault the Biden, the people there that were responsible for PR and strategy, because they could have been doing a whole lot more than what they were doing all the way along as he was accomplishing things. And it would have been a moot point at this point. But we all know, anybody who actually seeks out information, and I know I'm going to say this, and it's probably going to piss people off. I don't think it's the majority of the American people who will actually go out and look up what Joe Biden has done for America. I do, but not everybody does that. So if they're relying on the mainstream media to inform them, you can forget that. They've been in the bag for Trump forever, and they're just not going to do that. So you're going to have to go out and find it. You can go right on the White House website and get a list of everything that the Biden-Harris administration has done. And it's not made up, by the way. So
get a list from the White House website, then go on to the links. Yet, there is a method to our madness, guys. There really is. It's not that hard. It's just a matter of really wanting to find it and really wanting to look for it, which is why, when we started doing the research on the vice presidential candidates and whatever, one of my resources told me, don't sleep on Tim Walz. And I was like, oh, so I took a look at him. I'm like, oh, this guy quickly became my guy, the front runner guy.
Me too. And don't get me wrong. I'll tell you what, I love Andy Bashir.
Oh, I do too.
I love Shapiro, Josh Shapiro. But when I saw Walz, I said, this is the guy. This is the guy. I think I wanted him. When they announced it, I was ecstatic. I was at work.
I know.
It was great.
I heard about it and I was like, okay, let's go. Let's just start this thing. And then oh well, they really made a mistake by not picking Shapiro. Listen,
Whatever.
Shapiro, I don't know if he wanted it. I don't know if he's ready. Josh Shapiro, people have to understand everything that happens when it comes to something like this, everything has to have the right timing to it.
Right.
And Josh Shapiro has only governed for what, 2 years?
Yep.
So he might not feel as though he's ready yet.
He might not feel as though he's finished his job where he is.
That too.
Okay.
And by the way, that's the same reason that Gretchen Whitman doesn't want to do it.
Right.
Or Gavin Newsom. They still feel like they have work to do.
Right.
They don't want a half-finished product going into another project.
And then people, I know Pete Buttigieg was popular, but you know what? He's going to have plenty of opportunity. There is no one that's going to let Pete Buttigieg fade into the background. I don't see that happening. He's much too valuable.
The least valuable thing that could happen with him is that he gets another cabinet position. I strongly believe he could have another cabinet position. He could have labor. He could stay where he is. Health and Human Services. He could be the HUD director. I also think that Katie Porter would be great with HUD. I've said that before. And I got that in my head when she schooled Ben Carson on what the job actually was. I mean, that's classic. That's just.
And by the way, when Buttigieg's tenure is over there, that would be 2025, right? There's elections coming up in 2026 again. He could run. He could run for the House seat. He could run for a Senate seat. There are Senate seats coming up as well. So
he's Indiana, right? Is he Indiana?
I don't think so. I think he's let me look that up.
I think he's Indiana.
It could be.
Indianapolis, I thought.
Indiana.
Yep.
South Bend. He was the mayor of South Bend. That's right.
Right. So I don't know what Senate seats are up. I also don't know what the House seats. Hey, he could take an assembly seat, no problem. Right. But I'm curious as what he would do. I could see him I could see him sliding into a House seat.
Yep.
But we'll see.
It's a great article in The Guardian here. Right?
Yeah.
Trump and Vance are unmatched in the Olympics of lying, says Pete Buttigieg.
Right. There's a lot of good little clips and MSNBC. There's a lot of good interviews. Buttigieg is a great interview, by the way. He really is. Now he's different than Tim Walz. He's not that, Midwestern thing, but he's well spoken, but people know what the hell he's talking about. So and I like Pete Buttigieg a lot. I thought that he was actually I don't even know, kind of fronting for the DNC job, if you know what I mean. That was when I was in a different place and I didn't see it in a positive way. But now I see, okay, because remember, that's when what's his name was in there too. Ronan, Sam Ronan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, eh.
But by the way, Chasten Buttigieg and Doug Emhoff did a fundraiser on Fire Island and broke Cher's record from 2016. So it was a big one, $300,000. So that's a lot of money from the gay community,
Yeah, there is. It is.
So
Anyway, you guys, listen, it's just a little primer. I did a lot. There's a lot of pictures of him with his gray hair going. That's all I saw for like, for a couple of hours. But this guy's a real deal. And is he perfect? No, he's not perfect. But
Well,
he
that's
will.
kind of not a human option. So none of us are perfect.
No, none of us are
We'll roll
perfect.
from
But
here.
right, but he's not JD Vance and he's not Trump by any stretch of the imagination. And he's
Yes.
also he is a public servant.
Yeah.
And he will, he actually one of the few things one of the things that I really, really love about politics is listening and being responsive to what people do and not worrying about what you can't do, but saying, hey, look, this is what I could do. And getting people on your side that normally wouldn't be on your side, like George Floyd's brother. I mean, that's a huge deal to me. The man lost his brother, and it's the governor of the state
Right.
that controls the cops. That to be able to do that and to be able to win over that person says a lot about Tim Walz.
Right.
You guys, you're going to be very surprised, or you're going to be pleasantly surprised by what this guy does, I think. And listen, he has his idiosyncrasies. By the way, when he does this, when he claps, he's clapping for the other guy. He's not clapping for himself.
Right.
I've seen that before. It's a giving technique.
Right.
By the way, like coming from the teacher shit too, that's, him clapping at them.
Yeah.
He's not self-congratulatory. It's a teacher thing. Just saying.
Yep.
But anyway,
All right, gang. We'll talk
that's
to
what
you
I got.
next week. We'll be back.
Yep.
That's a threat.